As the Buchanan's family physician, you're well acquainted with young Joey's history of asthma.
Yes, I am.
And in all that time, has Mrs. Buchanan ever been an obstacle to Joey's treatment?
Quite the contrary. Vicky's always been very vigilant when it comes to Joey's symptoms.
So, you would characterize her then as a concerned, devoted mother?
Absolutely.
Thank goodness for Larry.
Why is her pleading Vicky's case? Maybe it just sounds that way.
Then it would be safe to say that the Vicky Buchanan you know would always respond to the first signs of trouble.
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
She would always have proper medication at hand to counteract any asthma attack.
Yes, I believe so.
Does that include the most recent occurrence?
I'm sorry, I don't follow.
I said Joey's most recent asthma attack. Do you remember that?
Yes, of course. I treated him at the hospital.
At the hospital?
Yes.
Ah, is that typical of Joey's treatment? Is he always taken to the hospital after an attack?
Well, no.
But he was this particular time.
Yes, but there were extenuating circumstances.
I see. What were the extenuating circumstances?
He needed special attention, that's what I meant.
I see. Special attention, yes. Isn't it in fact true, Doctor, that special attention was necessary because Joey did not receive timely treatment at home?
It was an extraordinary set of circumstances.
Well, undoubtedly, and wasn't one of those extraordinary circumstances the amnesia of Joey's mother? Wasn't she unable to remember that her son even had an asthmatic condition?
I was not at the house at the time of the attack.
But from what you were told, Doctor, wasn't it extraordinary that Vicky Buchanan didn't know what was happening? Didn't think to use medication, didn't have the first idea how to save her own son's life.
Your Honor. Damn it, you're asking me to say something about one of the finest women I know, that she was a lousy mother. Well, I can't do that.
Dr. Woloch, take a seat.
Your Honor, I protest being called here to testify against Vicky Buchanan.
Doctor, your protest has been duly noted and duly rejected. No one in this room relishes this task, but we have our obligations to the law and to 3 innocent children.
This whole situation is being blown out of proportion.
Sit down and answer the questions, Doctor.
We were talking of Joey Buchanan's most recent asthma attack. Dr. Woloch, would you say his mother reacted responsibly or not? I am aware that you're in a difficult position, really I am, but you see, we're not questioning you as a friend of either Clint or Vicky's. It is your medical expertise we're after.
Well, I'm more than just a doctor, Mr. Callison. I'm also a human being, and I'm sorry, I can't ignore the feelings of the people involved here.
Dr. Woloch, nobody's asking you to put your feelings on hold. But the court must insist that you answer these questions.
Your Honor, the witness has answered Mr. Callison's question. He has stated that Victoria Buchanan never did anything and act any way to hurt her children.
Mr. Sanders, the court appreciates your attempt to answer on the witness's behalf. However, I would like to hear the answers in his own voice, if you don't mind. Carry on, Mr. Callison.
Thank you, Your Honor. About Joey's asthma. Dr. Woloch, isn't it true that his condition went undetected by his mother? Undetected because of her amnesia, undetected long enough to necessitate his being brought to the hospital.
As I have stated earlier, I was not present at the time of the attack.
Ah, yes. Dr. Woloch, you led us to believe that prior to the onset of Mrs. Buchanan's amnesia, there had never been an occasion when an asthmatic condition escalated to a life and death crisis. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Which leads us right back to Joey's most recent bout of asthma. Now, isn't it true that when the boy was admitted to your care at Landview Hospital, he was indeed in a life and death crisis?
You're putting words in my mouth.
Just answer the question, please.
All right. He was in pretty bad shape.
In pretty bad shape. Wouldn't it be more accurate to say that Joey Buchanan could easily have died if he hadn't been rushed to the hospital by his father for emergency treatment?
Objection.
Overruled. Go on, Doctor.
You're asking me to speculate on what could have happened, and I'm sorry, I'm not able to do that.
Not able or not willing?
Your Honor.
Sustained. Stick to the question at hand, Counselor.
Yes, Your Honor. Let me put it this way. Prior to her amnesia, Victoria Buchanan would always have responded safely and promptly to any medical emergencies concerning her children, especially her son Joey. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. But after her amnesia occurred, her son Joey was stricken with a condition that had existed for years, and she was helpless to save him. Now, is that true or isn't it? Dr. Wolek, is it true or isn't it?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes. She didn't know how to save her own son's life. Are you satisfied?
No more.
Well, I believe we could all use a recess. Court will reconvene in 1 hour.
All rise.
Vicky, kid, I'm really sorry. I never would have gotten on this stand, but they forced me up there.
Oh, Larry, you don't have to apologize to me.
Listen, if anything I said up there results in their taking those children away from me, I'll never forgive myself.
Please, you mustn't blame yourself.
You had no choice but to appear and answer questions.
But everything I said seemed to hurt her.
Oh, come on, you were hurting as much as I was. That was obvious. Besides, we're way past apologies and regrets, you and I.
I think I better go talk to my father, see how he's doing.
No, let him talk it out with Vicky. Dan, your dad can take care of himself. He'll be okay.
Ellen, Joanne, you two didn't have to come down here. Who's minding the store?
The banner can survive without us for one day. We wanted to be here, for you and for Vicky.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of both of you.
Thank you. Well, we've got a minute.
Oh, sure. Excuse me.
Thank you. Look, I saw you squirming when I was questioning Larry.
Would you blame me? He's a friend of mine. We put him in a hell of a position.
He's my friend, too. It's a courtroom. We have to put certain feelings aside.
Yeah, I know. It's win or lose, right? It matters not how you play the game.
Judith, believe me, will get just as down and just as dirty when she puts her witnesses on the stand.
You mean Pamela?
That's for starters, and it'll be Dorian, and I gave up a long time ago trying to predict what Judith might spring after that.
Buzzard. Hey, what's the matter, Frosty? Not enough snow?
I bet you this lady stood him up. Hey, don't worry, it happens to the best of us.
All right, now I'm trying to find what happened to Pam.
What do you mean? I thought she was supposed to meet you up in a room, right?
She was. We had a date and everything, but I mean, it's not like Pam to just skip out and not leave a note.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Just a little while ago, I called the courthouse to check up on the custody hearing. Delilah tells me that Pam was supposed to show up as a witness.
Pam had a subpoena. She didn't say anything to me about it.
Well, apparently, Pam never showed up to testify either.
Maybe she wasn't served with a subpoena.
No, that's just it. Delilah says the process server, he says he brought it to her personally.
Wait a minute. Let me start piecing this together. We had a date. I left to go home and change, and after I left, Pam was summoned to court?
Now, why would Judith summon her? What could she possibly say against Clint?
Now, if Clint wins this court case, he moves into Ace's mansion, right? Along with the kids. Maybe Judith wants Pam to testify about what kind of environment Ace's mansion would be for those children.
Wait a minute. A light is beginning to go on.
Yeah, but Pete, you're not thinking that...
Well, yes, I am. Now, come on. We all know Asa. Now, if he thinks that Pam is somehow going to interfere with Clint getting those kids back, he'll stop at nothing.
Yeah, Pete, will you just hold on a second?
Hold it. He knows what he's doing.
Oh! You, Asa Buchanan, are the last of a dying breed.
A Texas gentleman.
An unrepented, unredeemable, unreconstructed, oh, rather barren.
I like what you're saying. Tell me more.
You are an outlaw in every sense of the word. The only law you ever follow is the one you make yourself.
Now, I couldn't have said that better myself. Oh. Yeah,
And when the world disagrees with you, I mean, do you try to make amends? No, you just decree the entire world is wrong, and then you go about your merry way.
Well, I tell you, honey, I can't deny it. You know me too well. But being in the law under myself has made me the man that I am today, and I practically got everything I've ever wanted.
Do you really, Asa?
I look at myself in the mirror every morning. I like what I see. Not many men could say that.
No, maybe you could look yourself in the mirror. But have you looked around you recently? I mean, take a good look at your kingdom, Asa.
Everything I see is the finest. That's what I see.
Oh, things, yes. Art, furniture, leather-bound books. But tell me something. Do all those things really make you happy?
They sure as hell have.
No, I don't think so. I think you fill your life with things and crises just so you don't ever have to look and see how all alone you really are.
You do not know what you're talking about.
Oh, I think I do. Now take a look at this big empty house, Asa. You wonder what the emptiest part of it is? It's the person that owns it.
You think you got it all figured out, don't you? All right, maybe I've been a little lonely lately. But that's going to change.
Not unless you change.
Nothing so drastic. If I keep you under wraps, and the hearing goes according to form, Clint will have his kids back, and they'll be rattling around in his old house of mine. Then it won't be empty, will it, Pam? A toast to the children, to the joyous noises they're going to make in my domain.
Bubba!
Johnny, I didn't hear you come in.
Well, we are dressing up for lunch these days, aren't we?
Lunch?
Yeah, remember we were spending a cozy little lunch together.
Oh, I'm sorry. I completely forgot about it, John. I have to go to court this afternoon, and then well, beforehand, I have to go on a very important appointment. I have to see somebody who could make a very big difference in my life.
Well, that's okay.
You sure? You're not angry?
No, I mean, if I had to cancel at the last minute, I'd want you to understand.
Thank you.
You have to do what you have to do.
Oh, you're a dream. A dream.
But I'll tell you what, I think I'm going to make some phone calls and see if I can arrange something else to do myself. Anything's better than being here when that dear little Miss Bristol returns.
John, do you think that's very charitable?
Well, it's the truth, Dorian. You know, every time I shake hands with your darling little protege, I count my fingers afterwards.
You know, I'm really getting sick and tired of your nasty little jabs at Diane.
Well, I'm sorry. There's plenty more where that comes from.
Hearing you talk, I am now convinced that I've made the right decision.
What decision?
Diane thinks that she hasn't got a friend in this world. Well, she has me, and I'm going to prove it to her by putting her in my will.
In your will?
Yes. You heard me, John. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Whoa, are you crazy?
It is my money. And if I want to share a part of my good fortune with a poor girl who has never had anything of her own in her life, well, then it shouldn't upset you.
Well, it does, Dorian, because I care about you. And I don't like to see you be used by some little brown-haired, dimpled calculator.
For your information, Diane knows nothing about this. It was entirely my idea.
Oh, I believe that. This girl is good. I mean, I give her credit for that. She's even better than I thought.
You're just like all the other people in this town. You don't even want to give her a chance to make herself better.
Not if it means letting her pick your pockets, Dorian.
This girl deserves a break in a life that has been filled with nothing but misfortune. John, I want to be certain that if anything should happen to me, that her future is insured.
All aboard for the gravy train.
You know, I had my doubts about this decision. But the way you're talking has made me absolutely determined that I'm doing the right thing. I trust Diane, and I'm going to prove it to her and to everyone by putting her in my will.
Dorian, wait a minute.
The subject is closed.
Wait!
You told me exactly what you think of me.
Exactamento.
Now it is my turn.
No, I already know exactly what you think of me. You think that I am a prim, not too bright, repressed sort of a schoolmarm.
Wrong. I think of you as a diamond in the rough. A magnificent jewel waiting to come out of a dark and dreary cave.
Oh, I know what you're up to, Asa. You're going to try to talk me out of all that pirate treasure I got on Devil's Claw Island, aren't you? Well, I'm not going to listen to one word.
Hellfire, Pamela! I don't want your treasure. I wanted you. I wanted you to walk out of the shadows and shine with all the brilliance that's within you.
You did?
Yes, I did. And you could have done it. You were this close when we were married. But no, you couldn't stand the heat. And it takes pressure and heat to take a chunk of coal and turn it into a diamond.
Oh, pressure I could handle. And I could handle the heat, too. It was the lies and the deceptions that I couldn't stand.
Oh, you had your moment of moral outrage. And then you went back to being this goody-goody island girl that Bible sprouting father of yours always wanted. Tell me something. No, tell me something, really. Are you happy?
Oh, Lordy. I don't know whether it is the champagne or your outrageousness. I'll give you one thing, Asa Buchanan. You are never boring.
Then why in the name of Davy Crockett could you settle for that prosaic, pedestrian, always predictable character O'Neill?
Now, wait just 1 second. You hold on. Pete O'Neill may be predictable, but he happens to be honest, decent, and kind. Everything that you are not.
Get him away, I don't care about your orders.
Oh, my Lord. Pete!
I'm telling you, get him away, damn it!
Pete!
Ooh, the sweetheart of Sigma Chi.
Well, your last stunt, Asa. This time you answer to me.
Vicky, you know what? I wish that we could all wake up and find out this was just a dream.
Things don't happen like that in the real world, Wanda.
This might sound trite, Vicky, but things will work out for the best.
We can only pray for that.
We're going to need more than prayers.
Judith looks worried. No sign of Pamela?
No. Without her, she may not have much of a case.
All rise. Be seated.
What are we going to do if Pamela doesn't show up? Time to take off the gloves, Vicky. Well, if we don't, Herb Callison sure will. I know.
Mr. Callison, you may call your next witness, please.
Your Honor, we call Thomas Dennison to the stand.
Thomas Dennison, come forward.
You had better listen to the lady, O'Neill. See, you may be able to threaten and bluff my staff, but now you've got to deal with me.
That's fine with me.
No, Pete, please, just no fighting.
There's not going to be any fighting, honey. This man is trespassing, invading my privacy. I shall call the police and have him removed.
You do that. You call the cops because you're going to be the one that's arrested.
For what? Defending my home?
Give me a break. Come on. Rafe already told me that Pam was subpoenaed to testify at that hearing. It seems to me it doesn't take a genius to figure out you're doing everything you can just to make sure she doesn't show up.
It doesn't take a genius, no. It takes a damn fool like you. Now get out of here.
I'm going. But I'm taking Pam with me.
No, Pete,
Pam,
wait.
no, you wait a minute. Are you willing to risk contempt of court just to satisfy this pig-headed idiot? Now, come on, put your shoes on. We're getting out of here.
Stay where you are. You want to give orders, O'Neill? You start with me.
Cassie, where'd you been?
Oh, I needed to clear my head. I'm still really upset about Keith.
Yeah, well, you know, he may not be the only victim around here if Diane ends up having her way.
Why? What do you mean?
Guess who your mother has decided to make beneficiary on her new will? Yeah. She thinks that's a great way of proving how much she trusts Diane.
Oh, I don't believe it. Mom is so savvy about everything and everybody. How come she doesn't have the slightest doubt about Diane?
I don't know. It beats me. All I know is that we better find the truth about Diane before your mother all but adopts the girl.
That the evidence you're about to give this court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
I swear.
Be seated.
I don't think I can bear this. Our time will come. By then, it may be too late.
Mr. Dennison. I'm not going to waste your time or the court's with a lot of background. We're here to decide the fate of the 3 Buchanan children. Is it proper to say that you care about what happens to them?
Yes, very much.
So, in other words, you're a friend of the family.
I've tried.
You've tried especially hard to be a friend to Mrs. Buchanan, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure what you're driving at.
Well, let me be blunt. Your friendship with Victoria Buchanan really isn't a friendship at all. It's really a love affair, isn't it?
Objection.
It's a simple question, Your Honor. Is Mr. Dennison in love with Vicky Buchanan, or isn't he?
Your Honor, we're not here to judge Mr. Dennison's private life or his private feelings.
Hert's really playing hardball, isn't he?
Look at Vicky.
You don't think that it's true? I mean, that they really are having an affair?
Ladies and gentlemen, please refrain from whispering. This is a court of law, not a proverbial back fence.
Your Honor, that is exactly what counsel is trying to turn this trial into, an occasion for gossip, not justice.
Mr. Dennison's relationship to the defendant is highly germane.
Mrs. Saunders has a point, Mr. Callison. Both parties have consented to a divorce. It's only natural to expect they'll find new companions.
Well, yes, and new companions will affect the lives of the 3 Buchanan children. Isn't that what we're here to determine?
Your Honor, our task is to decide which parent can provide the best home for Joey, Kevin, and Jessica. Mr. Dennison has made no claim on the children. He's not on trial here.
Mr. Dennison's relationship to Vicky Buchanan reflects directly on her ability to provide a proper home for the children.
Your Honor, you cannot continue this line of questioning. It's irrelevant and inflammatory at best.
Mrs. Sanders, whether I allow it or not will be my decision and not yours. Mr. Callison, a word with you, please. If that's all right with you, Counselor.
Briggs, what's going on?
Not sure. But I've covered my share of family disputes. Never seen a pretty one.
The judge can't let Herb continue to question Tom in this way, can he? If he does, Herb and Clint will live to regret it. We've got a lot of ammunition ourselves.
It's a matter of propriety, Pamela.
It's a matter of the law.
Will you just wait 1 minute? It is a matter for me to decide. I happen to be the one who was subpoenaed, correct?
Are you telling me you're of your own free will?
No, of course I am not. But, though I hate to admit it, there is one thing Asa said that made some sense.
Hallelujah! Someone agrees with me.
Asa, be quiet. Asa said that if I testify, it may affect who the children go to. I don't want that on my conscience.
You're not being asked to pass judgment, just to answer a few questions.
Yeah, but the questions are going to be about Asa, aren't they?
You're damn right. That Sanders dame will harp on my marital status. This mansion will seem like a pleasure dome in a Casbah.
You would defy a court order just so you don't have to testify about his bigamous past?
Oh, wait a minute. It's a lot more than that. I happen to care about Clint and Vicky, too. I don't want to be responsible for taking the children away from either of them.
What kind of a law asks a beautiful woman like this to make such a choice?
The law of the land, Asa. And I'm an officer of the court, so I got to make sure that she shows up for that hearing.
Apparently you are hard of hearing as well as hard-headed. The lady doesn't believe she can testify. Adios, amigo.
So, you really think Diane's been lying about her background?
Well, let's put it this way. If the girl said it was snowing right now, I think I'd put on my bathing suit.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Except without any real proof, what can we do?
Just keep digging, Cassie. I mean, Diane doesn't trust me any more than I trust her. It's going to be up to you to find out the truth.
How? She doesn't seem to trust anybody, including me.
You got to give it your best shot. That's all I can say. I mean, I get the feeling that Diane's innocent past is just a big phony.
Yeah, I'll get it.
Thanks. I'll show myself then.
Rick, is that? Yeah, it is you. Hi.
Yes, how you doing?
Fine.
Oh, we did say 2 p.m.
Yeah, we did. You two know each other, right?
Hey, John. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good to see you again, Rick. You're going to hit the slopes today, huh?
Yeah, I told Rick I probably wouldn't be the best company, but...
And I told her, the best way to get your mind off things is snap a pair of skis on and go flying down a mountain.
Wait a minute. Before you teach me to fly, I want you just to teach me to keep from falling down.
You're on, okay?
Hey, listen, you guys have a good time. I'm going to go to the courthouse.
Wait, John, listen. Maybe I should go with you.
No, listen, I think Rick's got a good idea. You forget your problems today and, just for today, though. Because if tomorrow we get started on our little project.
All right, I got it. Little project, huh? We'll see about that, Princess Cassie.
Is it fair to say your friendship has taken a toll on Mrs. Buchanan this past year?
No, it is not fair to say that. I've tried to be of some support to Mrs. Buchanan, not a problem.
Well, it's very admirable, but in your effort to get close to Mrs. Buchanan, to be her support, didn't you only end up confusing her?
No.
Didn't you cause her to be pulled in two directions?
No, I don't think so.
Didn't you, Mr. Dennison, consciously or unconsciously make her choose between her marriage and her love affair with you?
Damn it, we have never and are not now having an affair.
We can dispense with the expletives, Mr. Dennison.
Your Honor, he's trying to make it look as though I've lured Mrs. Buchanan away from her husband.
Those are your words, not mine.
Now, just a minute, Counselor. I'd like to ask the witness a few questions. Mr. Dennison, you must have wondered if it was Mrs. Buchanan's emotional state that led such a responsible and dedicated wife and mother to suddenly turn away from her husband.
Well, it may have seemed sudden, Your Honor, but Vicky did not act out of confusion and desperation.
Your Honor?
Now, let him continue, Mr. Callison.
Your Honor, Vicky turned to me for friendship after her husband turned against her.
Your Honor, please.
Look, he's your witness, Counselor. I just want to hear what he has to say.
Clint Buchanan decided, based on circumstantial evidence, that his wife had reverted to an alternate personality and kidnapped their child. Your Honor, he was prepared to institutionalize his wife when she was as well as you or I.
You can't blame me for this, Dennison.
Mr. Buchanan, that will be enough.
Your Honor, I have made my share of mistakes, but he was right there ready to pounce on him. There's a name for men like you, Dennison.
Mr. Callison, will you please restrain his client, or I'll ask the bailiff to do so.
Let's sit down. Stay cool.
Herb,
You want me to represent you or don't you?
Mr. Callison. Mr. Callison, it seems to me the witness has explained the motive behind his friendship with Mrs. Buchanan.
Indeed he has, if we are to accept that it was only a friendship.
Your Honor, if Mr. Callison has some reason to doubt his witness's testimony, he should produce it and stop throwing stones.
I'll be happy to if Mrs. Sanders insists.
Oh, no. What is it? That's it. That's the note, the one I wrote to Tom.
Mr. Dennison, do you recognize this handwriting? Mr. Dennison?
It seems like Vicky's handwriting.
Seems?
It is.
Now, I don't wish to embarrass Mrs. Buchanan by reading this letter out loud, Your Honor. Instead, I would ask that you consider its contents and its meaning.
If it's half as important as you make it seem, Mr. Callison, we'll take a brief recess. The witness will step down. Court stands recessed.
Not going to testify. That's all there is to it.
No, I said I don't want to testify. I still have a legal obligation.
Are you going to let him scare you with this legalistic bull?
She shouldn't be scared. If she's found in contempt of court, she could be jailed, she could be fined for all you care.
That's why I do care. I want to shield her from a painful testimony.
Oh, come on, the only one you want to shield is yourself.
Oh.
As long as she doesn't testify about your past, you don't give a damn about her.
Pete, the only thing that Asa cares about is that Clint gets those children.
Amen.
I don't believe you. Again, one more time, are you going to trust this man?
Pamela knows and understands fully well why I brought her here. She knows how susceptible she is to your kind of moralizing hogwash.
I beg your pardon.
You're learning, and there's no doubt about it. But you got a long way to go. You see, these little laws and little people like O'Neill, they don't apply to you and me.
Oh, don't they?
Oh, honey, face it. You have power and wealth. You do what you please, and let the rest of the world judge accordingly. Oh, champagne, Petey?
No, thank you, Ace.
Oh, I forgot. You're a Shirley Temple man. You see, Pamela, there are the tepid and the tigers of this world. Now, all you have to do is, you just make the right choice.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Asa. And I want to thank you so much for making that choice. So simple.
I knew I could count on you.
Well, you just finish the champagne with the rest of the tigers. You know, I might be late for court.
What?
Oh, thank you. You know, you helped me really see this the right way. I realize that it's not just a legal question. It really does have to do with morals. And Pete, if you don't mind being seen with a tepid soul, I really do need to lift to court.
Be my pleasure. So long, Tiger.
Pamela, you take that stand, believe me, you'll regret it the rest of your life.
Cassie, a few tips, and you will be hot dogging with the best of them.
Right. Listen, I think you have a lot better things to do all day than to teach me how to ski.
I can't think of one.
Oh, come on. What about your training for the Olympic trials? Isn't that the whole reason you came to Lambview in the first place?
Well, yeah, sure, but a guy can't train all his life. Besides, if we give this half a chance, you know, we might actually have some fun out there.
Well, when you put it that way, then I don't feel like I'm taking you away from something that's too important.
You are definitely not. Let's go. You ready?
I'm ready. Have fun, you guys. Hey, wait a minute. Rick, how about giving Diane a lesson today, too?
Today?
Yeah, she doesn't get out much, and I think she and I could get to know each other a little better. Well, that's really sweet of you, Cassie, but I think Rick has other plans. Oh, come on, Diane. The three of us would have a great time, wouldn't we, Rick?
Well...
Oh, poor Rick would spend all his time just teaching me how to put my boots on. Where I come from, learning to ski wasn't an option. I thought you said you lived in a foster home in Colorado. You misunderstood me. I said Kansas. Oh, that's right. Wichita, right? We moved all over the state. I've forgotten the names of the towns. Your foster father must have been a traveling salesman. No, he was out of work most of the time. That's why we had to keep moving. One step ahead of the loan sharks. How old were you when you were doing all the traveling? How old? Yeah, old enough to be in high school? Of course. Well, then you must have one of your old yearbooks lying.
You okay, Clint?
Oh, Larry, yeah, I'm fine. I just want to be alone for a minute.
Okay. You're quick to congratulate me. The least I can do is return the favor.
I didn't pull any major coups.
No, you just sat there while Judge Guernsey tore apart my whole line of questioning.
Oh, I knew Tom could hold his own. Maybe you don't feel like dinner tonight?
Oh, I feel like dinner as long as you're paying. Got you, didn't I?
Herb?
Oh, yeah, excuse us, Judith. Yes, what is it?
I can tell you what it isn't. It isn't a party between two chummy lawyers.
Hey, come on. You're not making light of the situation?
Well, I don't care what you're doing. The point is, I am fighting for my kids. Hell, I'm fighting for my whole family.
Now, you listen to me. You're worried and you're angry, and I understand it. But, Clint, the worst thing you can do is let your temper get the best of you.
No, Herb, the worst thing I can do is sit here and watch Tom play Mr. Innocent. I want you to put me on the stand, Herb.
What? No.
Now!
When?
Now!
Listen.
Now! Somebody has got to take that man's words and stick them back in his face.
Right. You keep talking like that, and you're going to hand those kids over to bigger ones. You get a hold of yourself, and you cool down, and then I'll put you up on that stand. Otherwise, Judith is going to have you for lunch.
Perhaps you shouldn't be seen with me.
Please, you're not going back on your promise, are you?
No. But if the, if the judge rules that your letter's admissible evidence, could make it look as though I'm trying to break up your marriage.
Tom, when I told you about the letter, you said the only thing important was the fact that I had said I needed you.
And that's absolutely true, and I'd do anything to protect you. You know that.
I know. You proved that when you took the stand. I just pray I'm half as strong as you when Herb questions me.
Look, everything's going to be okay.
Thanks to you, we're turning the whole case around. But what about the letter? It doesn't matter what the judge decides. I have a big surprise for Herb and Clint.
Ladies and gentlemen, the court's back in session.
Oh, thank you.
Keep your fingers crossed. The judge has made a decision about the letter.
Yeah, right
Well, now, I couldn't let you take the stand without a rooting section, could I?
Does that mean you're rooting for me in even more ways than one?
talking about you making Diane a beneficiary of your will, I won't pretend that I approve. I will keep quiet about it for now.
All right.
What do you think?
You go either way.
Be seated.
Having read the letter from Mrs. Buchanan to Mr. Dennison, it is my conclusion that it has no bearing on this hearing. I therefore must rule it inadmissible.
Oh, thank God.
That's one for Vicky.
Yeah, but Clint looks pretty relieved himself.
Your Honor, we respectfully withdraw the letter.
I'm not finished, Mr. Callison. Mr. Saunders, would you join us, please? Okay, folks. Now, this is an end to all the name-calling and innuendos. The issue here is Vicky and Clint Buchanan's ability as parents. That's all I'm interested in. Do I make myself clear?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Callison, do you have any more witnesses?
No, sir.
And Mrs. Saunders, you may call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to call Dorian Lord to the witness stand.
Dorian Lord.
I couldn't afford to buy a yearbook, but it didn't matter. I wasn't homecoming queen. Neither was I. So what was your high school like? Like any other high school. Oh, poor Rick. You must be bored to tears. You better get her out of here before you miss all that snow. Well,
I mean, really, if you're ready, I'd like to go.
well, why don't you come with us? There's tons of fun. I really feel like staying here, Cassie, okay? Someone should be here when Dorian gets back from the courthouse. After testifying in the custody hearing, she'll need a nice, quiet dinner waiting for her. So I better get started.
Gee, you really don't know my mother as well as I thought.
Don't I?
No, my mom's not easily fazed, especially by a court appearance. She may actually resent your pampering, Diane.
Well, thank you for the advice. I'll take it to heart. Come on, Rick. Bag?
Yeah, I got it.
Bye. Bye. Have fun. Or should I say break a leg?
Friends? Vicky and I have been through so much together, I think it would be difficult to describe us as just friends.
But you have been close for many years.
Oh, yes. Close enough to be at each other's throats. If that's what you meant. We have fought about such diverse things.
I don't know. I thought she was supposed to be a friendly witness.
This is another one of her tricks.
But despite this history of competition and disagreement between you, you are here freely to testify on her behalf.
Yes. Because, for one thing, we have, over the last couple of years, become closer to each other. I think we understand each other much better, and, well, be that as it may, never, ever, in all the time that I have known her, have I ever doubted her love and her commitment to her children.
Have you seen proof of this?
Yes, I have seen proof of it. I also have proof of it.
Would you please tell us what this is?
Yes, it is a videotape of my television show. Vicky appeared on it to make a personal appeal to her baby Jessica's kidnappers.
Your Honor, I would like to enter this as evidence and play the tape so we can judge for ourselves my client's love for her children.
Mrs. Sanders, this is a grandstand play, and you know it.
Your Honor, this tape does contain a heartrending speech by my client, but this is a heartrending dilemma. Isn't it highly relevant to see Mrs. Buchanan not just as a disinterested, distracted mother that Mr. Callison would like us to believe she is, but in fact, a woman who is totally dedicated to the welfare of her children?
I'll see the tape. Bailiff.
This is nothing but a cheap trick.
Don't kid yourself. If we had something like it, we'd use it ourselves.
Here's a transcript of the tape, Your Honor.
I have
have made any number of speeches in my life, and I've never really had any trouble with words. But unfortunately, right now, I can't think of a single clever thing to say. All I can think about is my baby. Her name is Jessica Ann, and she is the most beautiful and the gentlest creature that God ever put on this earth. And my husband and I, we love her very dearly. She's only been a member of our family for a very short while, but we miss her very much.
See? It'll look much nicer on me.
Again for the rest of your life.
You're not angry with me?
Of course. How could I be angry at you? You have to forget the cruel and inhuman treatment you've had all your life. You're not an orphan anymore. You're my own dear Diane.
Oh, you're so good to me. I'll take this off before I spoil it.
No. It looks much nicer on you than it ever did on Cassie. It's yours now.
You mean it?
Yes. Everything that used to be Cassie's is now yours.
But Cassie's your daughter, and I'm just a stranger.
In a short time, you have become to me the kind of daughter that Cassie never was. And I want to reward you.
What will people say?
I don't care. And to prove it, I'm leaving most of my estate to you. You deserve nothing but the best. I want you to repeat that. I deserve nothing but the best. I deserve nothing but the best.
I deserve nothing but the best. I deserve nothing but the best. I deserve nothing but the best. Doesn't have to be a fantasy. Not for long.
Thank you for sharing the tape with us, Mrs. Lord. It said more eloquently than any testimony what a splendid mother Vicki Buchanan has been. Your Honor. Your witness.
Yeah. I'd like to thank you, too, Mrs. Lord. When was that tape made, by the way?
I thought I made that clear. It was made on the day that little Jessica was returned home by the kidnappers.
Oh.
It was a direct result, of course, of Vicky's appeal.
Well, then it all happened prior to Vicki Buchanan's loss of memory. Is that correct?
Well,
Is it correct?
yes, but I don't see what difference that makes. She loved her children then. She loves them now.
Well, I think it makes a great deal of difference. Would you say that Vicki Buchanan was under a tremendous amount of stress at the time of the taping?
Of course. Her child had been kidnapped.
Yes, now, it's a well-known fact that, psychological fact that certain people respond better to stress than others. However, a loss of 8 years' memory is a rare and disturbing phenomenon, isn't it?
Objection. The witness is hardly qualified to pass judgment on my client's mental and emotional health.
Well, Mrs. Lord has been a practicing physician of some repute in this town. Mrs. Sanders put her on the stand. I simply want to take advantage of her breadth of knowledge.
Overruled, Mrs. Sanders. You put her up there. Mr. Callison can get her medical opinion.
Thank you, Your Honor. And you, Mrs. Sanders, for making this witness available to us. Now, Mrs. Lord, isn't it true that during times of stress and anxiety, Vicki Buchanan isn't always in control of her emotions or her mental state?
No, I wouldn't say always.
Well, but often.
I didn't say often either.
Well, let's be specific. Do you happen to recall the day that Vicki Buchanan came to ask you to make available the tape that we've just seen?
Yes. She was very determined. She felt that it would help support her case, but she was very much in control of her feelings.
Would you describe, well, you just did, her emotional state. How would you describe her feelings towards you? In other words, she just come for a favor. Would you say that she was friendly towards you?
No, I would say that friendly was going a bit too far.
Then she was unfriendly.
She was cool. She was distant. She was a bit formal.
Formal? Oh, that's... I mean, here's a woman who desperately needs your help. She desperately needs a favor, and she treats you formally as if she has no idea how to deal with you.
I think it is very understandable, given the way things were in the past.
The way things were when? The way they were 8 years ago? You see, isn't it true that for Vicki Buchanan, your relationship was frozen in time 8 years ago? Isn't it true that she came to you with no idea how your relationship had changed or matured or improved over the years?
Yes, I suppose that you could describe it that way.
Well, let's describe it that way. Let's say that the dislike and anger Vicki Buchanan felt for you some 8 years ago was still alive, as if nothing had ever happened between either one of you, as if 8 years of her life had never existed.
All right, she did treat me the way she used to in the past, but what does that have to do with her children?
Will you tell me? Now, you've just demonstrated conclusively the total extent of Vicki Buchanan's memory loss. Now, if she can't remember her feelings for her friends or her acquaintances, how in the name of justice can she provide a stable and loving home for her own 3 children?
You may step down, Mrs. Lord. Bailiff.
Don't let it get to you. We scored some points with Dorian. We lost some, too.
Well, that was nice work.
John, please don't kid me. Herb made an absolute fool of me.
Mr. Sanders, if you call your next witness, please.
Yes, Your Honor.
The next witness is nowhere in sight.
Your Honor, I'd like to call Pamela Buchanan to the witness stand.
Pamela Buchanan. Hand on the Bible. And state your full name.
Pamela Oliver Buchanan.
You do solemnly swear that the evidence you're about to give in this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, shall help you God?
I do.
Be seated.
Mrs. Buchanan, how long have you known Asa Buchanan, the grandfather of the 3 Buchanan children?
I have known Asa for about 1 year.
I thought you'd been married to him for 10 years.
Yes, that's right.
Sorry, but how could you have been married to him for 10 years and... Sorry, but how could you have been married to him for 10 years and only have known him for 1 year?
Well, you see, I was married to him under his alias name, Captain Jeb Stewart. He was a merchant marine.
I'm a bit confused. Weren't you aware of the fact that the same man, under his real name, Asa Buchanan, was married to another woman in Landry, Pennsylvania?
Yes, that's right.
How many women was he married to in the last 10 years?
Well, I think it was, 3. No, maybe 4.
Was it 3 or 4?
I'm not sure.
Mrs. Buchanan, are you telling us that you were married to a bigamist?
Well, I think you call it a polygamist.
Your Honor, I don't believe Asa Buchanan's marital history is relevant to this hearing.
Your Honor, Asa Buchanan is not only the grandfather of Kevin, Joey, and Jessica. He may be providing the future home for them if Clint Buchanan is awarded custody. I think his character is very much an issue.
Continue, Mrs. Sanders, carefully.